Before I actually get into the rich relatives, poor relatives, I wanted to say something that you already know, I think. It is my opinion that you, and it's just my opinion of course, that you should never define your life by what you do, but by who you are. What you do is an extension of who you are. Your thumb, for example, is a part of your hand, which is a part of your arm, but you are in no way your thumb. I mention this because in a lot of instances, especially with relatives, they are defined by what they do, and who they are usually totally ignored. You're looking at a visual record of my walk today. I went to a state park here in Virginia Beach, and this is what I saw. Rich or poor, you the viewer is seeing the exact same thing. The difference then is not so much in what you see, but in your perception. These pictures, like life, present themselves without malice or even the recognition of you personally. And I think that your perception has a lot to do with your personal attitude. They are, after all, what they are. Some will see and say, I can do better, and that's good. Some will see these pictures and say, that gives me an idea, and that's even better. Some may even see these pictures and decide right here, right now, that they're going to be as creative as they can, and that would be great. After all, with modern cameras, just about anyone can be very, very good at shooting pictures and videos. Some will see these pictures and they will know of a fact that there are better ways to spend one's time. Some will see these pictures and say, what a bunch of crap. Like life, each saw the same thing and was afforded the same opportunities to make the same observations based upon what they see and their own attitudes. Now that you've seen the pictures, your conclusions are entirely your own. Like life, what you think of these pictures and your attitudes towards these pictures is strictly your choice, isn't it? Can you see how this would apply to whether or not one becomes successful or not successful given the same opportunities? I was told once that all relatives, meaning all people, fall into one of three categories. Those who were given opportunities and took advantage of it, those who were given opportunities and choose not to take advantages of it, and those that are simply the victim of circumstances. I just don't think life is all that simple. Do you? But you may well wonder why you're looking at these pictures when we're discussing what seems like economic conditions. Why indeed? I think that it is important sometimes to bring us back to reality and to remind ourselves of what is important. This park is accessible to all citizens, rich or poor, at the same meager entry fee. And even here, the city of Virginia Beach gives you a choice at times to pay or not to pay. I stopped at one of the entry points only to find that it was based on the honor system. Honor. Now there's a word. Anyway, I stopped only to find that the cash in my pocket was not sufficient for the fees requested. I had tens and no singles. So I parked my car, went into my golf bag in the trunk of my car, found the fees, folded the bills, and dropped the cash into the box. And then I took one of the permits from my dashboard, only to find that I should have placed the money inside the envelope prior to dropping it in the box. I was guilty of not paying attention to details. Meanwhile, the man behind me had no such problems. He simply went around me and entered without paying. Honor, attention to details. The city will not go broke because of this man's behavior, and I'm satisfied with myself for paying my way. and we both will enjoy the park. Which brings me back to honor. Relatives that are perceived to be rich are sometimes also perceived to have gained their funds under questionable circumstances, to live their lives as snobs, to not care about nor wish to associate with their poor relatives, to have a lot of discretionary funds, so much so that they're supposed to give it to their poor relatives. Relatives that are perceived to be poor are sometimes seen as people who lack honor and ambition, people who are lazy, who are just on earth for handouts. Envy, suspicions, greed, anger, lies, bad-mouthing, devious behaviors, and negative words and actions are the orders of the day. Then there is the attention to details, the truth, and there lies the problem. What is truth? Is it related to reality? Then one must ask, what is reality? Is it as it is related to God? Then one must ask, is there a God? Is truth as it relates to coherence? After all, to a fish the world is all wet. Is truth as it relates to objectives? Is a rock, for example, a solid? Is truth as it relates to facts? Then one must be very certain of their facts. It wasn't all that long ago that everyone believed that Mary Magdalene to be a whore and the world was flat. What do you believe today to be an absolute fact? That is, in fact, absolutely wrong. I don't consider myself rich or poor, since these terms are really meaningless in my life as I know it. For example, I woke up one day believing that a property that I believed that I owned was worth about $500,000, only to find the next day that a part of it was sold without my knowledge or the knowledge of a man I believed to be my attorney. And I was, just like that, $280,000 less rich. Theories for this situations are aplenty, including the complicity of relatives. But here's my point. Since I never did put a lot of stock in ownership of things and properties, I still sleep very well at nights. My solution to this particular problem will be discussed later. What we're really talking about is a relationship between rich relatives and poor relatives. Strained relationships. For the sake of discussion, I'll use the terms rich and poor in the parochial sense of the word, and I'll say this. If the rich relative could see the poor relative as a person and not just someone awaiting a handout. If the poor relative could see the rich relative as a person who, maybe through blood, sweat, and tears, acquired their holdings. If the rich relative could see and truly understand that life is not always fair. If the poor person could understand that with the acquisition of property comes ownership, and with ownership comes responsibilities. If the rich could understand that absolutions from past wrongs are not so easily wiped away from new-found conversion to religion, nor were past wrongs accomplished without consequences, long-lasting consequences, and giving away money is not always an excuse for dastardly deeds. And if the poor could only and finally realize that the definition of being rich and the reality of being wealthy are not necessarily the same things. A person, you, waking up in your own bed, eating your own food, being free to be as creative as you wish, and being able to give of yourself and your creations without demanding anything in return, is far wealthier than the man who must be, by nature of his own facade, continue a lifestyle trapped in his own misery, playing to an audience of his own creation, and never being able to leave his own stage. This that you're looking at is real. The trees are real, the water is real, the birds are real, the day is real, the sounds are real. And you are free to enjoy or not, to do so without envy, suspicions, greed, anger, lies, bad-mouthing, devious behaviors, negative words, and actions. You are free to live this moment, right now, as the orders of your day. If you're a poor relative, perhaps calling a rich relative just to talk is the thing to do. If you're a rich relative, perhaps calling a poor relative just to talk is the thing to do. The other person's behavior will determine your next course of action, right?